Hi, boys and girls. Miss Pam here. Hope you all are doing okay today. This is our third lesson that we're going to be working on today. And the materials that you're going to need are your book titled We Make Cookies. So go ahead and get that out, but I don't want you to open it. You can just put it to the side because we're actually going to be talking about a new skill today. But I want you to have your book to the side, and then if you would, get 2 different colored pencils, or it can be 2 different colored crayons. Just as long as they're 2 different colors. So Miss Pam's going to use a red and a blue. But I don't need those materials right now. So I'm going to put them down right here beside my book or underneath my book to have in just a minute. So I'll be organized. Okay, so what I need you guys to do for me is I need you to put your hands out and I want you to open them up, because the first part of our lesson is going to be a lot of listening. So let's do our little poem to remind us of where our hands belong, okay? Open, shut them, give a little clap. Open, shut them, place them in your lap. All right, boys and girls, so I know you can't see me yet, but I know you can hear me. So I want you to listen carefully. Today, before we read our book, we're going to be learning about 2 parts of a sentence. You guys have been doing such a good job of reading your sentences that I think it's time for you to learn about the different parts of a sentence. There are 2 parts to a sentence. The first part is called the naming part. The naming part of a sentence is who or what the sentence is about. And if you look at my very first sentence, I bet you see a name that looks familiar. You're right, it's Grayson. So the naming part of this sentence is Grayson because it's who the sentence is about. Now, I wrote the naming part of the sentence in kind of a purplish maroon color. But if you look over here, I have some words written in blue. That's the second part of the sentence. We call that the telling part. The telling part of the sentence tells us what is happening in the sentence. So let's do the first one together. I'm going to read it to you, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can decide what the naming part of the sentence is and the telling part. Grayson reads a book. Okay, you want to read it with me? Here we go. Grayson reads a book. Now, if I were to ask you, who is this story about? Is it about, or not the story, the sentence. Would you say Brianna? No. Would you say the sentence is about James? No. Who's it about? Whose name is that? That's right, it's Grayson. So the naming part of this sentence is Grayson. Now let's think about what the sentence is telling us. What is Grayson doing? Do you remember? Reads a book. So the telling part of the sentence is what the person is doing. So Grayson is the naming part of the sentence. Reads a book is the telling part of the sentence. All right, good job. You ready to try another one? Okay, let's go to the second sentence. And I bet you're gonna recognize this name. It starts with a J. That's right, James. So Miss Pam's gonna read this sentence to you, and then we'll talk a little bit about the naming part and the telling part. James runs fast. Read it with me. James runs fast. So if I were to ask you, who is this sentence about? That's right, it's about James. And what do we know about James? What is the sentence telling us that James can do? That's exactly right, boys and girls, that he runs fast. So we have the naming part, which is James, and runs fast is our telling part. All right, let's do a few more. And let's see what sentence number 3 has. Oh, whose name is this? That's right, it's Brianna. Let's read, or Miss Pam's gonna read this sentence to you. Brianna jumps rope. Brianna jumps rope. So, who is our sentence about? Who is jumping the rope? Oh, excuse me. You're right. It's Brianna. So, Brianna is the naming part of our sentence. It's who the sentence is about. Now, what does our sentence tell us that Brianna likes to do? It's telling us that Brianna jumps rope. So jumps rope is the telling part. All right, we're going to do 2 more, and then we are going to read our book. The next sentence is about our friend Grace. All right, Miss Pam's going to read this sentence. Grace plays, this is a big word, volleyball. You want to read it with me? Here we go. Grace plays volleyball. So, who plays volleyball? Who's in the naming part of the sentence? That's right, it's Grace. And what does Grace do? What does the sentence tell us that Grace does? That's exactly right. She plays volleyball. All right, our last sentence that we're going to do is about Miles, our friend Miles. So let's read this one together. Or I'll read it first, and then you can read it with me the second time. Miles plays basketball. Okay, read it with me. Miles plays basketball. So, who plays basketball? Miles. So Miles is the naming part of our sentence. It's who the sentence is about. And what is our sentence telling us? It's telling us that Miles likes to do what? Play basketball. So plays basketball is in the telling part of the sentence. So you've learned that today a sentence has two parts. The naming part, which is who the sentence is about, and the telling part, which tells us what the person is doing. All right, boys and girls, so I'm going to move the whiteboard out of the way, or actually I'm just going to erase it. And what I need you to do while I'm erasing is get out your book, We Make Cookies. And then I want you to have your two colored pencils or crayons, whatever it is you chose to use, with you. I'll give you a second to get organized. And what I would like for you to do is take your reading finger and let's read the title together. Here we go. We make cookies. We make cookies. Now, even though this is the title of our book, we can actually identify the naming and the telling part of this title. Now, we know that the story is about a daddy and his daughter, and they're spending time together making cookies. But instead of saying daddy and the name of the daughter, they're using the word we. And if you remember on the very first day of our lesson, I told you that the word we tells us that we're talking about two or more people. So if I were to ask you, who is this story about? It's about the dad and his daughter. But they're using the word we. So we're going to take our one color, and I want you to underline the word we, because that's the naming part of our sentence. That's who the story is about. And what does our title tell us that they're doing? That's right, they're making cookies. So you're going to pick another color, which is going to be what you use when you underline the telling part of your sentence. So I'm going to underline make cookies in blue. So the naming part I underlined in red, and the telling part I underlined in blue. So we're going to do the same thing for each sentence in our story today. So let's go ahead and turn to page 3, which you see in the corner. And remember, our highlighted words are our words that we learned on Tuesday. They're our vocabulary words. All right, so let's take our magic reading finger, find the word we, and here we go. We put in some flour. So, who is the sentence about? It's we. So you're going to underline the word we, which is in the naming part, with one color. Miss Pam used red. And what does the sentence tell us that we, the daddy and the girl, are doing? What are they doing? That's exactly right, boys and girls. They're putting in some flour. So we're going to take our other color, crayon or colored pencil, and I want you to underline, put in some flour. So the naming part has been underlined with red, and the telling part of this sentence has been underlined in blue. The sentence has two parts, the naming part and the telling part. Excellent job, boys and girls. All right, let's turn to page 4. You ready to read this one? Here we go. Put your finger under the word we. We put in some sugar. Who is the sentence about? You're exactly right. It's about we, the daddy and the little girl. So you're going to underline the naming part, the same color that you used in the last page. And what are they telling us that the daddy and the little girl, the we, are doing? Do you remember that word? That's right, they're putting in sugar. So let's underline the telling part of our sentence in our other color that we chose. So we have the naming part and the telling part. Okay, let's do number 5. Let's read it together. We put in a little salt. All right, so take your colored pencil and I want you to see if you can find the naming part of your sentence. Who put in a little salt? If you underlined we, the same color that you've been using, you get 2 thumbs up. Now, I want you to get your other color out, and I want you to underline the part of the sentence that tells you what they're doing. If you underlined, put in a little salt, give yourself a big pat on the back, because that is correct. Put in a little salt is the telling part of the sentence. Good job, boys and girls. Okay, we got a couple more pages to do and we'll be finished. Hang in there with Miss Pam. All right, page 6. Here we go. Actually, we're going to do 6 and 7 right next to each other. All right, here we go. Finger under the word we. We put in 2 eggs. We put in some milk. All right, now I want you to pick up the color that you've been using to underline the naming part of the sentence. So go back to page 6 where Miss Pam is pointing and take your colored pencil or crayon and underline the naming part of the sentence. Who are we talking about? Who is putting in the eggs? If you underline the word we, that is correct because we refers to the daddy and the little girl. Now I want you to take your other colored pencil and underline what the daddy and the girl are doing. It's going to be the telling part of the sentence. And if you underlined put in 2 eggs, you are correct because that is the telling part of the sentence. Okay, so looking over on page 7, we're going to read this together and then I want you on your own to underline the naming part and the telling part. So let's review our sentence. Finger under the word we. Here we go. We put in some milk. All right, pick up your colored pencil or crayon, the one that you've been using, to underline the naming part of the sentence. The who. Who is pouring in the milk? Now I want you to pick up your other colored pencil or crayon and underline the telling part of the sentence. What is this sentence telling us that the daddy and the little girl are doing? Go ahead and underline the telling part. Good job. If you underline the word we in the color that you've been using for the naming part, you get a thumbs up. And the telling part should be in the other color. Put in some milk. That sentence is telling us what the daddy and the little girl are doing. Almost finished, boys and girls. We're going to do the next 2 pages just like we did the last ones. We're going to read through them together first, and then I will give you the instruction of what you need to underline. And I want you to try to do that independently. Here we go. Finger under the word we. We put in some butter. We mix it up. So come back to number 8, page 8. Pick up your colored pencil and underline the naming part of your sentence. Who is putting in the butter? If you underline the word we, you are correct. And what did this sentence tell us that they were, I can't talk, boys and girls. What does the sentence tell us that they're putting in next? If you underlined, put in some butter, that is also correct. All right, on page 9, I want you to underline one more time the naming part of our sentence. And if you underlined we, that is correct. Now, what did the sentence tell us that they did? What are they doing with the spoon? That's exactly right, boys and girls. They mix it up. So we have the naming part and the telling part. All right, last page. This one's a little different because the words are a little different. So let's read it together before we underline our naming part and telling part. Finger under Dad. Dad puts it in the oven. Yum, yum. Okay, let's read it one more time. Dad puts it in the oven. Yum, yum. All right, so who is putting the cookies in the oven? That's right, the dad is. So you're going to take your colored pencil. That's the naming part of the sentence. That's who we're talking about. And what is Dad doing? What is the sentence telling us that he's doing? You're exactly right. Boys and girls, he's putting the cookies in the oven. So you're going to underline the telling part. Puts it in the oven with your other colored pencil. So you guys did a lot today. We read through our book. We learned about the two parts of a sentence, which is the naming part and the telling part. The naming part is who the sentence is about, and the telling part is what the person is doing. You guys did an excellent job. I'm very proud of you. I know that was a little long, but I know you did a great job. I will see you tomorrow for our next lesson. Have a great day.